Power doesn't usually collapse with a bang. Sometimes it slips quietly, under the weight of bad decisions, economic pain, and political blindness. And in Germany, between the fall of Chancellor Heinrich Brüning and Adolf Hitler's final consolidation of power by June 1934, history didn't just turn a corner. It slammed the accelerator to the floor. This was the moment when democracy didn't just weaken. It folded. And World War II began to take its first irreversible steps toward reality. Let's get straight into it. Heinrich Brüning didn't lose power because he was weak. He lost power because his solutions hurt the very people he needed to protect. Appointed Chancellor in 1930, Brüning ruled during the worst economic disaster Germany had ever faced. Unemployment exploded past 6 million, businesses collapsed, hunger spread, and Brüning's answer was austerity, spending cuts, tax hikes, wage reductions, all enforced not through parliament, but through emergency decrees. That mattered. Every time Brüning bypassed democratic debate, he weakened the system itself. Parliament became irrelevant. Presidential rule became normal. And extremist parties thrived in the chaos. The Nazi Party didn't rise despite Brüning's policies. It rose because of them. By April 1932, Brüning had lost the confidence of nearly everyone. Workers hated him. Conservatives distrusted him. Elites blamed him for instability. And crucially, powerful backers decided he was no longer useful. On April 24th, the political ground beneath him was already cracking. His fall wasn't dramatic. It was inevitable. When Brüning was forced out in May 1932, the guardrails were already gone. His successors lasted months, not years. Government became a revolving door of failed coalitions and backroom deals. Each collapse fed the idea that democracy simply didn't work. This was oxygen for Hitler. The Nazi message was brutally simple. Order over chaos. Strength over debate. Action over compromise. And with every failed chancellor, that message landed harder. By early 1933, elites believed they could control Hitler by placing him in office. They were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. On January 30, 1933, Hitler became Chancellor. But here's the key point many miss. He did not yet have total power. That came later. And the months between April 1933 and June 1934 were where the real transformation happened. Once in office, Hitler didn't waste time. The Reichstag fire in February 1933 became the excuse. Civil liberties were suspended. Political opponents were arrested. Newspapers were silenced. Elections were held under intimidation. And by March, the Enabling Act gave Hitler the power to rule without parliament. This was, well, the final burial of the system Brüning had already weakened. What Brüning normalized through emergency decrees, Hitler perfected into dictatorship. Laws no longer mattered. Opposition was no longer tolerated. And loyalty was demanded, not earned. But Hitler still had a problem. His own movement was divided. By 1934, the Nazi Party was massive. Millions strong, but not unified. The paramilitary wing wanted radical change, economic revolution, social upheaval. That scared the traditional elites who had backed Hitler, industrial leaders, military officers, conservative power brokers. They wanted stability, not chaos in brown uniforms. The army in particular was watching closely. And they made their position clear. Hitler could have their support. Or he could keep his radicals. He couldn't have both. This was the final test. June 1934 and the purge that sealed everything. Between late April and June 1934, the tension was unmistakable. Hitler played both sides. He reassured the military, he calmed elites, and then, at the end of June, he struck. The purge, later known as the Night of the Long Knives, was swift and brutal. Dozens were killed without trial, party rivals, former allies, anyone seen as a threat. And it worked. The army pledged loyalty to Hitler personally. Political resistance collapsed. Fear did the rest. By the time the dust settled, Hitler was no longer just Chancellor. He was the unquestioned ruler of Germany. When the president died shortly after, Hitler merged the offices and claimed supreme authority. No elections, no debate, no return. World War II was no longer a distant possibility. It was now a matter of time. The fall of Brüning and the rise of Hitler wasn't a sudden takeover. It was a chain reaction. Economic pain, democratic shortcuts, elite arrogance, public despair. Each step made the next one easier. This is the lesson that matters. Dictators don't appear from nowhere. They are invited in, enabled, normalized. And by the time people realize what's happening, power has already changed hands. For 0-hour World War II, this period is crucial. Because it shows how quickly history can tilt, how fragile systems can be, and how the road to global catastrophe often begins with quiet compromises. If this breakdown gave you new insight, if it sharpened your understanding of how World War II truly began long before the first shots were fired, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share this video. Keep the conversation alive. History only stays dangerous when we stop paying attention.